The Catoblepas is a creature as peculiar as it is dangerous, often found lurking in the dismal, swampy marshlands. This beast is shrouded in the mists of myth and legend. While everyone knows the name, accounts of the beast vary, with differing descriptions of the particular appearance and other various traits. Some say that it becomes a bloodlusted carnivore under the full moon. Others say that covens of hags regularly raise and tend to them. And others yet say that only a specific sect of blind monks can milk them. Whether these tales are true or apocryphal is hard to say, so let's discuss the easier to prove matters. The beast possesses a hunched body, reminiscent of a large, scrawny buffalo, with a mixture of reptilian scales and thick bovine hide. Its most distinct feature, however, is its massive head, resembling that of a warthog. It's so heavy that it perpetually droops towards the ground, supported unnaturally by a long, sinewy neck. The Catoblepas' gaze is famously deadly, rumored to be capable of striking down those unfortunate to lock eyes with it, rotting their flesh the same way it defiles the land around it. It emits a putrid stench that sucks all the life out of the vegetation and the soil itself. It's well known that Catoblepas inhabit dank, disgusting marshes, but it's hard to say whether those marshes were that way before the Catoblepas showed up. This creature's diet is as unusual as its appearance, primarily feeding on the poisonous vegetation abundant in its marshy home. But, while it primarily consumes plant matter, it won't shy away from meat if the opportunity presents itself, and it will gorge itself on any fallen creature or beast, no matter how rotten the flesh has become. This diet contributes to the toxic nature of its flesh, making it a challenging and potentially hazardous choice for culinary endeavors. So, how do you cook it? Given the inherently toxic nature of this creature, the butchering and cooking process requires not only physical dexterity, but also a touch of magical intervention to confirm safe consumption. Butchering a Catoblepas is a task best approached with caution and respect for the creature's potent nature. The first step involves carefully removing the toxic organs, such as the liver and kidneys, which are saturated with poisons from its diet of noxious marsh plants. These organs must be handled with extreme care and should be disposed of far from sources of running water to avoid contamination of an entire water system. Once the hazardous organs are removed, the tough hide of the Catoblepas can be taken off. It takes some elbow grease, but if you've skinned a steer, you can handle this as well. Beneath the hide, the meat, though tough and sinewy, holds potential for various dishes when prepared correctly. The long neck is particularly prized, with some connoisseurs paying top dollar for well-preserved Catoblepas neck, simply because this neck meat seems to have the most concentrated flavor of the beast. But don't let the tenderloin or the ribs go to waste either. There is plenty of good meat on this monster. However, the unique challenge of preparing Catoblepas meat lies in its residual toxicity. Even with the poisonous organs removed, the flesh retains elements of toxicity from the creature's diet. To render the meat safe for consumption, a spell such as Lesser Restoration or Purify Food and Drink is often employed. Neutralizing the remaining toxins makes the meat a viable, albeit exotic, option for culinary use. That being said, in some cultures, particularly among certain orc and dwarvish tribes, consuming Catoblepas meat without magical cleansing is seen as a rite of passage or a test of courage, especially among the young and the foolhardy. These groups often consume the meat in small, carefully measured portions, treating the act as both a test of physical resilience and a demonstration of bravery. While this practice is fraught with risk, it's a deeply ingrained tradition in some communities that live near marshlands. So keep that in mind when visiting, because you just might get roped into their displays of hospitality. The flavor of Catoblepas meat is influenced by its unique diet and habitat, and once properly detoxified, offers an experience that's either adored or avoided, depending on the diner. It's a very divisive meat. The primary flavor of Catoblepas meat is robust and earthy, with a distinct wildness that reflects the swampy environment it lives in. This base flavor is accentuated by subtle bitter undertones that hint at the creature's diet of poisonous marsh vegetation. The meat carries a faintly herbaceous and almost medicinal quality, which can be both challenging and fascinating to the palate. This flavor is described by many as gamey and acrid, but that's often due to lack of better terms. My best attempt at explaining what it tastes like is to think of the smell of dense, elven medicinal tinctures. It's similar in flavor and aroma to troll whistle, an herb that's very highly sought after for healing poultices. But despite those bitter undertones, Catoblepas meat is surprisingly versatile in its use cases in various dishes. It's able to absorb and complement a wide range of spices and seasonings as long as the underlying bitterness is taken into consideration. It is important to note that many cultures develop a distaste for bitter flavors due to many naturally occurring poisons. It's a defense mechanism, and one that ends up ingrained in both our lineage and our palates. Of course, bitterness isn't inherently a bad thing. And I'm sure many of you have even grown to enjoy bitter flavors in coffee and dark chocolate and beer. But in some cultures, bitterness isn't a drawback. It's a desirable flavor compound which can complement dishes in the same way that we might want to add some citrus for acidity or honey for sweetness. With this in mind, Catoblepas fat is a highly sought after ingredient for some chefs. The fat is very soft and silky in texture, very similar to pork lard. But what sets it apart is the bitter undertones it carries. It's prized because it's a great method for adding a tinge of bitterness to almost any dish that can be fried or sautéed, without completely overtaking the general flavor by adding a more overpowering bitter ingredient like chicory root or gentian flowers. This is an important part of the repertoire of many cooks and cultures that you might not have dined with in areas near Catoblepas habitats. Also, this is true especially in the Underdark, a topic I'll dive deep into in another video. Overall, the flavor of Catoblepas meat is an adventure in itself. A complex blend of earthy, wild, and slightly mysterious notes that can be both challenging and rewarding for those willing to explore the culinary depths of such an exotic creature. That being said, this is all assuming that the meat has been purified. Magically detoxifying the meat also standardizes the flavor, allowing you to know almost exactly what you'll get with a low range of deviation from the norm. But if you don't purify it, you're playing Catoblepas roulette. This is one of the primary reasons that many diners actually choose to consume unpurified Catoblepas meat. To them, the allure is in the random and chaotic flavors that occur. Each beast is unique in its exact diet, and what you're tasting is the sum total of its lived experience. Certain shamans actually view this in a more spiritual light as well, accepting the good with the bad as a testament to honoring the life of the beast they're consuming. Other diners, though, they're less sentimental in their approach, and they just love the thrill of the unknown that they experience when consuming it. Will they have the best meal of their life or the worst? Or maybe the last? Roll a D20 flavor check, then a DC 15 constitution save. Good luck. Now, we've discussed the beast itself, but if there's one delicacy more infamous than Catoblepas meat, it would undoubtedly be death cheese. Produced from the milk of the Catoblepas, this cheese is both a marvel and a menace, particularly when it comes to the creation of it. Tales swirl of exactly how to properly milk a Catoblepas while avoiding its deadly gaze. And while I don't know much of the particulars, the one time I saw it occur was when I was visiting a coven of blind hags who kept a small herd of Catoblepas, so it's definitely possible. Now, getting the milk isn't the only difficult part of the process. Even if you survive this step, the raw milk is so toxic that most magical purification methods won't fully neutralize the harmful elements, and it has a caustic acidity that would ruin most standard cheese cultures. However, when diluted in other milks from other animals, such as cow and goat, this toxicity is mitigated. The hags also told me that spores from Rotmeyer fungus are integral in the cheese-making process, which thrive in the milk's unique chemical environment and transform the curd into a surprisingly rich and creamy end product. In fact, it's this combination of ingredients, the Catoblepas milk and the Rotmeyer spores, that yields the well-known and decadent death cheese. Many have tried and failed to create death cheese with just Catoblepas milk in traditional methods, but without this important ingredient, you'll keep falling short. Just don't tell anyone you heard it from me. Once the cheese is set, it's up to you how long it's aged. Death cheese is sold in a variety of different aging periods. Fresh death cheese is very mild, creamy, and velvety, soft and spreadable, and perfect for smearing on crackers. But with age, it becomes intensely pungent, with notes of swamp moss, fermented roots, and that same medicinal bitterness we discussed was present in the fat. The aged cheese ends up marbled with streaks of green mold, lending it an almost jewel-like appearance that truly looks like streaks of poison snaking their way through porcelain. It's not for everyone, but I have seen high quality wheels of death cheese that were aged for 15 years fetch prices of over 500 gold pieces. As with plenty of delicacies, you just need to find the right buyer. For many, death cheese ends up being the only desirable product they equate with Catoblepas, but a resourceful chef also knows how to make the most of the bits they can't eat. Its thick and mottled hide makes for durable yet lightweight armor. Treated correctly, Catoblepas leather provides excellent resistance to acid and poison, making it a coveted material for rangers who specialize in swamps and marshes. The creature's organs, specifically the livers and kidneys, are prized by assassins and any who dole out death by tainted cups. These can be distilled to create fast-acting poisons that can kill a man in mere seconds from the moment the toxins hit their bloodstream. On the other hand, Catoblepas horns are vital in the creation of antidotes for a variety of natural poisons. Some alchemists even use powdered Catoblepas horn in the creation of gas masks that give temporary resistance to toxic gases. The powdered horn is layered between sheets of paper and soaks up and neutralizes the toxins in the air, turning black as its usefulness is expended. Finally, the bones are commonly used in necromantic rituals for empowering spellcasting foci. I'm not too well versed on the arcana behind this, but from what those hags told me, Catoblepas bones are always helpful to have on hand when trying to raise some less willing undead. Do with that information what you will. I hope you enjoyed this video. A lot more long-form videos to come this year. If you want this information for your own table, the formatted PDF can be found below on my Ko-fi for free. And as always, let me know if you have any requests. And feel free to join the Discord to chat with the little community we've built.